And joining me now via satellite from Denver is Mr. Donald Cox, Jr. He's the CEO of Biomedical Technology Solutions Holdings. Their stock symbol's BMTL. Don, welcome to the program.
Thank you, Don, and good morning.
Well, glad to have you here, Don. Now, Biomedical Technology Solutions Holdings describes itself as a company which sells a product called the Demolyzer 2, the only patented, portable, and self-contained system able to process both sharps and typical biomedical red bag waste on site. It's very exciting. Could you give us a general overview of the company, please?
Sure. The product itself was called the Demolyzer 47. It was originally invented in 1993. It was patented in 1999. I found and purchased the technology in 2005 and started BMTS Inc. In 2008, we went public to BMTS Holdings and the symbol BMTL. The Demolyzer is the only patented tabletop device that allows you to take both sharps and red bag waste, process it on site, small to medium volume generators, take that collector when it's finished, throw it just in a common trash can.
Well, now, biohazardous medical waste, Don, contaminated materials, used needles, other sharps, pretty dangerous stuff. How big of a disposal problem is that for healthcare facilities?
It's not so much that it's a disposal problem, it's a disposal hassle. We generated 1.5 billion pounds of biomedical waste in this country in 2008. That equated to about 5 pounds per person in the United States. That cost is about 15 times more expensive than throwing common trash away. So what happens is today you've got a doctor's office, a dentist, a vet, a clinic, anybody that treats animals or humans create biomedical waste. When they do, they basically have one source, and it's been the same source for 40 years. They take that waste, they either take the red bag collector or the sharps collector or the red bag itself. They've got to double bag them, tag them, they put them in a storage room, and it sits in that room anywhere from a week to 30 days, some even up to 3 months, until the biomedical waste hazardous company, a Stericycle or a local guy, comes along, picks up that, because you have to be a special licensed company to pick that waste up, and haul it off to either be incinerated or destroyed. We, as I said, it gets done on site.
Well, now, your website refers to the Demolyzer 2 as a green alternative to biomedical waste disposal. You mentioned the previous disposal method. What is it about your process that makes it green?
Well, I think the most unique thing about it is there's over 20,000 trucks on any given day in the United States crisscrossing this country picking up biomedical waste. That waste is then incinerated, some is ground and chemicalized, and it ends up in landfills that way, or again incinerated. Those trucks are burning diesel fuel and creating a very large carbon footprint. Once a dentist, a doctor, a vet, a clinic, somebody which we consider a small to medium volume generator, that's approximately 50 pounds a month or less, once they park a Demolyzer in their facility, and again it's the size of a desktop copier, so it just sits on a counter in one of their rooms. Once that machine goes in their facility, then once they take our collector, they get rid of the plastic ones obviously they've been using. When that collector is full, it goes in the machine, it's processed. When it's done processing, approximately 2.5 hours later, that collector comes out. It's now sterile common trash, actually cleaner than most garbage in the garbage can, and it goes straight into the trash. Now you've eliminated that truck showing up at that facility, picking up that waste. And again, we're eliminating the use of diesel fuel, we're eliminating the carbon footprint, the tires, the incineration, the chemicalization, all those things that go along with creating a greener environment.
That's fascinating. Once again, the company is Biomedical Technology Solutions Holdings. Their stock symbol is BMTL. For more information, you can call us toll-free from anywhere in the world you're watching the program, 888-259-4449. So I just want to reiterate, the Demolyzer 2 is a tabletop device, as you said, and it converts all of that undesirable stuff into non-biohazardous waste, and then you can just simply dispose of it like any other trash?
Absolutely. We've been licensed or approved, and I say licensed or approved because some states require full licensing, some states require approvals. When the technology started, you have to meet or exceed all the federal guidelines. That's OSHA, FDA, CDC, which we have. Then you make and get your state licenses. We've been licensed or approved in 48 states and been reviewed by over 80 governmental agencies, because a lot of counties, or states rather, are county by county. For instance, in California, we received our first state approval in '98. We received San Diego County in 2008. San Diego County, being the toughest EPA county in the country, has actually written a letter commending us on our technology.
Wow. Now I was going to ask you about how government bodies have been reacting, but let's talk about the medical community. How have they been reacting to the Demolyzer 2?
Well, once we get it out to them and they realize that it really does do what it does, it's accepted very well. We've, you know, I think what really puts us over that, or what explains the fact that we have been accepted widely, is the fact that we're in the VA, we're in the military, we're in every genre of medical practice on the doctor side, we're in the vet market, we're in the dental market. We have units sitting at stadiums. We're at Coors Field in Denver because of the use of diabetics and needles and the facilities. So we cross all areas of medicine and have coast to coast.
Well, what has the company done, Don, to protect your intellectual property?
I think two things, Don. One is we had the original patent that was issued in '99. When we bought the technology in '05, we spent $4 million modernizing the technology and spent about 3 years doing it, bringing it up to date. Actually, we meet or exceed all federal guidelines by a substantial amount. We've then filed 2 additional patent pendings worldwide. That's been condensed down to 1 patent, and we're now starting to get those patents issued. They've been issued in the Middle East, they've been issued in Africa. Our Russia patent's coming in next month, and we'll probably have our UK, the EU, and the US sometime next year. So between the patent expansion that we've done, and again, the fact that the 48 states, those states took an average of 3 to 5 years for approval. From back when this thing started in the mid-'90s when John Bricken started it. So, you know, you've got 2 barrier to entries. 1 is our patent, 2 is getting through state approvals. So that in itself protects our technology.
You know, Don, it's always fascinating to talk to a company like yours where you're taking a problem that has a danger factor, has a very great expense factor, and you're turning it into a solution. But let's talk a little bit about competition. Are there other technologies which also render biomedical hazardous waste harmless?
You know, there's other technologies out there, but they're large volume generators. There's approximately 17,000 to 18,000 hospitals, large volume generators in the country. There's over 1 million small volume generators at what we call 50 pounds a month or less. And there's really nobody in this field, again, that's patented, tabletop, and self-contained like we are. I mean, our unit basically comes out of a box, it sits on a counter, it plugs into a wall. You plug the phone jack into it because this machine calls home. I mean, it is all self-contained. We have created a piece of equipment that allows you to completely eliminate all the problems you have right now when it comes to how your waste is picked up. And again, as we mentioned earlier, if I can go back a second, you know, you have a doctor now, he takes the waste, he puts it in a storage room. When that hauler picks up that waste, he has to come to a back door. Somebody has to bring that waste to the back door. They have to sign a manifest. That manifest has to go in a logbook. They take that waste away. When they destroy that waste, they have to send them another manifest. You're required to keep those records for a minimum of 3 years. So there's a lot of touching going on. When you park a Demolyzer in your office, once you take that collector off the shelf, you put it in the machine, you process it, it produces a label. That label goes on that can goes in the trash. You've now eliminated your liability, because that trash is no longer biohazard. You've eliminated your cradle-to-grave liability, which is on all doctors and dentists, anybody that has that waste. But more importantly, all your documentation has been done. You've got a label that goes to your logbook out of the printer, 1 on the can that's in the trash. The machine holds the records for a minimum of 3 years, which is federal requirements. And then those records are downloaded to Denver once a month, and we hold those records for you. So again, you're not worrying about documentation and haulers and where it's going and any of that anymore once that waste is processed and hits that garbage can.
Don, we're just about out of time, but I do want to ask you our key question. Why is this a good time right now for folks to take a closer look at your company?
Well, in 1996, Stericycle said approximately 75% of their business was large volume generators, and they had a 20% profit margin. In 2006, in their K, Stericycle, who's the largest in the world, $5 billion, said that approximately 75% of their company was small to medium volume generators, my customers. And their margins have gone from 30 up to 60%. There's over 1 million applications domestically alone. We're approved anywhere in the world. So the world itself is global, but just in the United States there's over 1 million applications. And if we sell just 20,000 of these in the next few years, that's over $100 million in revenue, and that's less than 2% of the U.S. market. Waste Management, who's the $15 billion gorilla in the waste industry, has never been in the biomedical waste industry in their 40, 50 years. They just came into the industry 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, and they've proclaimed already to spend close to $200 million and growing on getting into this, because the new CEO says it's the last great frontier of the waste business, and the greatest profitable frontier for the waste business is the biomedical waste industry. The industry grows 3 to 5% a year, and as I said, 5 pounds per person is just going to keep growing and growing and growing. And probably the big ace in the hole here is you got 8 million Americans taking 3 billion shots at home in the year 2006 in this country. By the year 2016, the WHO and the World Health Association and the Diabetes Foundation says that number grows to 165%, or 21 million Americans taking 8 billion shots at home.
Biomedical Technology Solutions Holdings, BMTL. Don, appreciate you being on the program. We're initiating coverage this week and be watching you very closely over the next 3 months. Look forward to some updates from you during that period of time. Again, thanks for joining us.
Don, I appreciate your time. Thanks, MoneyTV, for everything, and we look forward to meeting with you again very soon.